Hello, welcome to Intellect's Tutoring Academy. In today's lesson, we will be looking at solving the difference of two squares equations. This is one of the easiest basics in mathematics that are very important. Therefore, grab that piece of paper for notes and put your thinking caps on as we get onto this interesting topic. What are the learning objectives for this lesson? After watching this lesson, you should know how to identify a quadratic equation that can be solved using difference of two squares concept. Learn how to solve the equation and understand the basics used. Also, you should be able to solve the equation using a different short approach. Therefore, as you watch the lesson, keep all these objectives in mind. What type of quadratic equation can be solved with this method? This is the type of equation that does not have the b term in it. We know that the general form of a quadratic equation is a x squared plus bx minus c equals 0. But if b is 0 and the two remaining terms of the equation are squared and subtracting, then the equation can be solved using difference of two squares method. For illustration, let's use x squared minus b squared equals 0 to show how the method is applied. This can be solved by having two brackets that are multiplying each other on the left-hand side. One bracket adding the bases of the squared terms, and the other bracket subtracting the bases of the squared terms. From there, we can then equate each bracket to 0 and solve for x values by transposing the b constants to the right-hand side. Now that we know how to solve the difference of two squares equations, let's dive deep into the basics used in solving. Consider the following equation for illustration. A times b equals 0. If a equals 0 and b is any real number, then 0 times b equals 0. Or if b equals 0 and a is any real number, then a times 0 equals 0. Therefore, it is evident that either a or b must be equal to 0 for the equation to hold, which is why we equated each bracket to 0 when solving earlier in our illustration. This is a very important concept to understand, as it is also used in other methods of factorizing. Let's look at an example to apply what we have learnt so far in this lesson. Consider the following equation, x squared equals 16. The first thing to do here is to take 16 to the left-hand side. Beware of the sign change. This is so that our equation becomes x squared minus 16 equals 0, which is a form that we are familiar with. X squared is a squared term. 16 can be written as 4 squared, which is also a squared term. Therefore, in the equation, we are literally subtracting two squares, which is why this equation is a difference of two squares. Therefore, we can solve it by having two brackets that are multiplying. One bracket adding the bases of the squared terms, and the other bracket subtracting the bases of the squared terms. Then we equate each brackets to 0 and transpose the constants to the right-hand side to solve for x. We see that our solution becomes x equals negative 4 or x equals 4. D is another short approach to solve this example. This is by applying the square root on both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, the square root will cancel the 2, and you will be left with only x. On the right-hand side, the square root of 16 is 4, but since you applied the square root, remember that your answer won't be just 4, but it will be plus or minus 4. Therefore, the solution will be x equals negative 4 or x equals 4. It is very important to always keep in mind that when you take the square root of a constant, the answer is plus or minus. This will be illustrated later in functions. The following practice questions are included in this lesson for you to practice the concepts and gain some confidence in the topic. Before you attempt these questions, make sure that you fully understand the concepts explained in the video, even if that requires you to watch the lesson multiple times. The important goal of this video is for you to understand the concepts clearly so that you can master those tests and exams. Thank you for watching. I hope you understood the lesson. If you need further assistance with the concepts, you can contact us on the email included. Also, don't forget to check our website and socials for more videos like this one.